St. Paul police are now responding to our story about an investigation into the top leaders of the Catholic Church. Law enforcement and community leaders are teaming up today looking for ways to try to stop young Somali men in our area from being recruited by terrorists.
Police left the scene, but look what was left behind. Bullet holes. 1, 2, 3 holes here.
Mystic Lake Casino is on fire. I gotta admit, I am shocked that there are no lines behind you. Are you surprised?
I'm so surprised.
For the second day in a row, this ride called the Stratosphere is stuck in action. President Obama planning to make a speech today, pushing Congress to increase the minimum wage.
The Basilica Block Party got started officially about an hour ago. The crowd's just starting to show up here.
Brad Sattin finishing up his hair and his makeup. He'll join us right after this.
Glad you're with us. I'm Brad Sattin, my hair and makeup ready to go.
I'm Megan Newquist.
Thank you for that. Breaking news coming out of St. Louis Park, a car going into a pond with kids inside.
We do have team coverage.
We want to get you caught up on what we know here. Apparently this all happened around 6 o'clock this morning, so 2.5 hours ago. A vehicle ended up in this pond by the cloverleaf there of Highway 7 and 100. Our understanding is that a woman and 5 children, 6 people in total, were in the vehicle. The mother was able to get out. The 5 children, at least immediately, were not. Divers were called in. The 5 children were at some point taken out.
We do not know what their condition is right now. Brad and Megan, back to you.
Now, just to clarify here, we were reporting earlier, our photographer at the scene saw 3 of the children who were pulled out of the water and they were not moving. Is that right?
That's right. That's what we've seen.
All right. I know you're still kind of catching your breath there. We'll let you get back and see what more you can find. Of course, if that State Patrol news conference happens in the next little bit, we will go to that as well. First official step in tearing down the 31-year-old Metrodome and replacing it with this, a new state-of-the-art facility. It's going to be opening in about 2.5 short years. And 45 TV reporter Kate Renner made it indoors now, or at least are you under a tent? Where are you exactly?
Yes, I'm here in the tent where the ceremony will be.
So what happens to your season tickets if you have them? Naomi Peskovich has been touching base with the team and the management for what the plan is for season ticket holders. Still some questions.
There are just a couple of weeks away, really, before those season ticket holders start to know how they'll get their tickets.
They need to get TCF Bank Stadium ready, and there's a lot of changes coming to it.
True, there are a lot of will happen next spring.
And the Vikings are paying the school $300,000 per game. That money goes back into the stadium, but there's also funding as part of this contract that is going to be helping out neighborhoods in the area.
Yeah, that's right. About $125,000. Again, not too far away, and what those projects will be could be kind of exciting for the area.
I think it will. First excitement, of course, today with the groundbreaking. If you don't want to watch it because it's just too darn cold outside, we will be streaming it live on our website. Just go to KSTC45.com.
Brad Sattin is live.
Yeah, we could tell you, Jess, that there have been some problems here at this restaurant. This is called La Que Buena. The sign says open. It's lit up. It has been closed, though, for hours now. Police leaving the scene a short time ago. This is what's left behind. Bullet holes. 1, 2, 3 through this window. 1, 2 here, a total of 5. Again, 1 person dead, others hurt. The crazy thing about all of this, take a look. There are surveillance cameras all over the place. Here on the left side, there's one. Over on the right side, we count 1, 2 of them there. And just across the street here is the Salvation Army. We can count 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 cameras there. 1:35 this morning, this Mexican restaurant was open late at night when shots were fired by someone passing by. We know 1 man died at the scene, 2 others taken to HCMC. A 3rd survivor got to the hospital, we found out, on his own. 3 survivors, all adult men, non-life-threatening injuries for them. So far, no arrests in this case. As we mentioned, there are a lot of private cameras here. This one is a police mobile unit. Interestingly, it was put up just on Friday. You can see the distance it is from us. Of course, police are now going to take a look at that surveillance video, possibly if any of these other cameras are working, see what they find. And of course, if you have information, you're being asked to call police. Live in Minneapolis, Brad Sattin, 5 Eyewitness News.
The average person has 26 online accounts.
That is a lot of accounts. So here's a question for you. If something happened to the person you love the most, could you find those accounts or even their passwords? Well, as you're about to see, 2 families tell us there is certain information we all should be dying to share.
Our honeymoon, day number 1 for us.
Dale Jensen in Mexico with his wife, Patty.
Having the time of my life.
Documenting their new lives together, a marriage that would not last long.
Where's Mom, huh? Where did Mom go?
4 years after that, Dale got a phone call at work.
It was her saying, I think I'm having a heart attack.
He rushed home to find his 46-year-old wife had died.
At 11 o'clock, we were joking and talking on email about a vacation that we're going to take that summer. And 3 hours later, I'm, planning our funeral.
Like many couples, Dale and Patty figured they had a lifetime to have that end-of-life talk.
You don't think about it. You don't say, gosh, we need a will because I might die tomorrow.
When suddenly,
you're constantly sort of getting, clubbed over the head with, yeah, she's dead, yeah, she's dead, yeah, she's dead.
That's because they never really planned for it. Patty just never got around to putting Dale's name on her bank accounts, car loan, or investments. And even the software engineer couldn't crack her passwords.
What's her PIN? I don't know. You never ask people that. It's a 4-digit number she probably chose when she was 20 years old.
Her death turned him into a detective. An old receipt from a concert ticket helped to find a credit card. And it took months to get balance information on her car, timeshare, frequent flyer miles, and the money she was owed.
Once you're gone, nobody can ever ask you anything ever again.
Today would have been his birthday. He would have been 85 today.
John and Gail Nafziger were married 17 years when last winter, despite Gail's protests, John went outside to shovel an inch of snow.
He came in and said, "You were right, I shouldn't have shoveled."
The 84-year-old suffered a heart attack and died. In the blur that followed, Gail took some comfort in knowing their affairs were in order.
We had discussed it many times. In fact, we had pre-planned funerals. We had a trust.
The trust itself was over 100 pages and made clear who got what, meticulously prepared and often reviewed. If something were to happen, they were ready, or so she thought.
You thought you were set up?
Absolutely. We didn't. We were not.
Several lawyers and realtors later, Gail is still sorting things out, blaming the mess on one attorney's really bad advice.
Their main thing was, do not tell your children what you're doing. This turned out to be probably the worst advice I've ever had in my life.
It left Gail and her daughter feuding with other family members.
It was just chaos.
Turns out that 100-page trust didn't simplify things, it complicated them.
Granting, bargaining, selling, conveying, some of these words I can't even pronounce.
Even John's gravesite is in limbo over whether it qualifies for military recognition.
Here it is 10 months later. Still working out headstone issues?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, we are.
From the minute it happened to today, she's not really had a moment to grieve for him.
If their stories had you saying, "I don't want that happening to my family," it had me saying the same thing. So I asked estate planning attorney Jody Cohen-Press to come by and help me sort out what I needed to know about my own parents.
Do they have life insurance? Do they have annuities? Do they have retirement plans? Do they have long-term care insurance? That's a big issue.
I didn't exactly pass her quiz, so she gave me some homework.
You said your parents are having their 50th anniversary?
We're throwing them a big party.
She told me to fly home and enjoy that 50th anniversary party. But after the cake was cut and the last song played, to sit down with my mom, dad, and brother and get some answers. But where do you even start?
You guys had a good time at your 50th?
Fabulous.
In the off chance there's not a 100th, I thought we needed to talk.
Okay.
I'm ready.
We never had any of this conversation. How come?
It's a tough talk because you don't want to think about that time.
You don't think about that time.
No, she's right. She's absolutely right.
If something were to happen to one of you, the other knows where all the passwords are, knows the bank accounts, knows all the information. The other's ready to go? Or?
Not exactly.
Mom says she is, but Dad?
Mom always has taken care of all the details.
So if she lands in the hospital or even worse...
He's in bad shape.
Who's the executor? Who's in charge if something happens?
You are, honey.
Why is this news to me?
I thought you knew it.
And it turns out I may not even be the best choice, according to our probate lawyer.
You live in Minnesota,
right?
And they live across the country.
Yes.
How will you manage that? How are you going to do that?
Do I call you?
I'm suddenly starting to feel maybe we're not ready. So armed with 10 questions all adult kids should ask their parents, I delivered them rapid fire to my mom and dad.
You just give me yes or no, we're ready. Healthcare directive?
Yes.
Power of attorney?
Yes.
Hesitation?
Hesitation because I'm still thinking about it.
Will?
Yes.
Trusts funded?
No.
Life insurance? 401ks?
Yes.
For investments? Everybody's named?
Yes.
When was the last time you looked at this stuff?
As for online passwords?
Are they written down in a secure place?
Yes.
Do you know where that secure place is?
No.
I couldn't help but notice between the guys, my dad, brother, and me, we didn't know much.
I'm learning as much as they are.
Isn't it funny that she's doing all the answering?
Well, probably not so funny.
Cohen Press says that's not all that unusual.
One parent may have paid the bills throughout the marriage, and one may have been in charge of taking out the garbage throughout the marriage. And whichever one dies first, either taking out the garbage is going to be a horrible event, or balancing the checkbook and paying bills will be difficult.
By now, can you guess who does what in this relationship?
I do the trash.
And my mom, the checkbook. So it turns out, even if the one person who controls the money is convinced she's prepared, but no one else is, there's a pretty good chance no one's prepared.
You and I have to have some conversation about this.
I agree.
There's a lot of voids here on my part.
It's good to have a meeting. It really is good to have a meeting and be able to talk about it.
Yes, it is. Sometimes just getting everybody together is the hardest part. Well, we do encourage you to have that meeting to talk about it. We have all kinds of resources, including the top 10 questions to ask your parents or any loved one, really, online. You can get a lot of information by going to KSTP.com right now. As you head to the shopping mall this holiday season, we wanted to alert you to a possible threat, one that parents have known about for generations, one that they don't seem to care, strikes fear into the hearts of young children everywhere. They are heartbreaking images captured by my own coworkers of their sons, daughters, nieces, and nephews. From the looks of sheer terror to body language that, if it could talk, would say,
"Mommy, Mommy, get me out of here!"
Even the twins of my co-anchor Megan Newquist hysterical when faced with this threat. And this is the face of the threat. Yep, that dreaded trip onto the lap of old St. Nick.
Look over there and say, "Gee, you did it. Cool, guys."
I paid a visit to Mall of America to see for myself because, hey, let's face it, this could be fun.
Patty cake, patty cake.
But a funny thing happened watching Santa in action.
How is everybody?
No one cried. Not a one. Santa was too busy signing leg casts. I mean, was anyone even remotely scared?
No? Are you still sleeping?
I'm beginning to think my crying baby story is in serious jeopardy.
We've been doing pictures for a mighty long time.
Even older kids paid him a visit, as they've done every year since they were born. Mom just keeps bringing them back.
My kids have been seeing the same Santa for 17 years.
How many times have they cried?
None.
How is that possible?
I don't know, he's such a great Santa.
Even the one mom who predicted it.
They're gonna cry.
Let me down.
Yeah, what would you like for Christmas?
A book.
For this Santa, it's the challenge of it all.
It's like an addiction I have, and it's like, what kind of game or what can I work out to work?
What can you do to keep away the tears?
Right, and I have enough tricks with a lot of experience.
42 years on the job, and talking to him convinced me he's the real deal. No one cries.
I don't get too many, though. Play with the tank engine, bud.
Well, almost no one.
I might lose that many a year.
Really? 5 a year?
Yeah, I don't
Out of how many kids?
I see 15,000 to 17,000 kids in my time here at the Mall of America.
And 5 of them will cry?
5. You did a good job. That's for you, hon.
So my crying baby story was a failure, but my producer suggested I give it another try, starting with his own son, come Easter. A shocking confession and chilling new details. The death row inmate who killed college student Drew Shadeen now admits to doing it. Glad you're with us. It's Thursday morning. It is the 14th day of November. Pretty mild outside right now, I would say. Rusty, thanks. It is a shocking confession. The man who killed Drew Shadeen 10 years ago for the first time is admitting, yes, he did it. Alfonso Rodriguez is now sitting on death row.
5 Eyewitness News reporter Catherine, thank you.
Other news this morning, St. Paul police are now responding to our story about an investigation into the top leaders of the Catholic Church in the Twin Cities. It focused on who knew what and when about a child porn case involving a priest. Here's 5 Eyewitness News reporter Jay Coles.
Sources.
2 people were killed in a fire that started in a kitchen. It happened Tuesday at a home in Bram in Isanti County. The sheriff says the 2 people killed had been dating, not saying much else about it. It appears, though, that the fire was likely an accident.
Keep their insurance next year.
Well, maybe you have seen this. This woman, in a way, kind of becoming the face of Obamacare, plastered on the healthcare.gov website. When the website became riddled with problems, she says that's when her troubles began, saying she's been mocked and harassed.
That smiling lady.
Have you seen the mystery girl?
Well, she is Adriana. She is from the country of Colombia, now a permanent resident of the U.S. She says when she took that photo, it was supposed to be a typical stock photo.
Released that said it was possibly going to be used for material for promoting the healthcare. We just didn't know that it was going to have a negative impact.
She says that she was never paid for the photo, which was taken off the website a couple of weeks ago. Well, get ready. In just 2 months, we could be facing another government shutdown. And while a group of bipartisan budget negotiators did meet yesterday, the word we're hearing is they, at this point, are not even close to striking a deal to keep the government up and running. Meanwhile, last month's 16-day government shutdown is now being partly credited with starting the new budget year with a smaller deficit. The sequestration and the improving economy are other factors for the decrease. 4 Marines were killed during a routine safety sweep. They were supposed to be deactivating some explosives that hadn't gone off during training exercises at Camp Pendleton in California. At this point, that's all the Marines are saying about it. So far, no names are being released. A Pittsburgh high school student says he shot 3 of his classmates in retaliation for being beaten during a drug-related robbery. The 16-year-old shooting his classmates yesterday afternoon. He's expected to be facing a judge later today on charges ranging from attempted homicide to illegally possessing a gun. The 3 victims are all expected to be okay.
Hundreds of people recently stood in line to buy this bobblehead of the mayor for 20 bucks.
I don't know if he's popular. I think it's more about making some money off the bobblehead later, right? Might be worth something.
That's crazy.
Give to the Max Day is today, a way for Minnesotans to show their generosity. Talking to some local charities all through the morning about how important those dollars are. We'll be right back. A massive tornado ripping apart homes and lives in Illinois this week, and at this very moment, some local volunteers are about to head that way to help those who've lost everything. Glad you're with us this morning. It's Thursday. I'm Brad Sattin.
And I'm Megan Newquist. This morning, people are all bundled up. They are lining up to get their hands on this year's City's 97 sampler.
As I look at the CD, there are 33 songs on it this year. The CD costs about 33 bucks, so it's about $1 a song. You can't get that from iTunes.
No, you
Pretty
cannot.
good deal. All right, so we're going to talk more about
oh my God.
that and folks waiting in some. They're all bundled up, Patrick.
What was your sister, Rusty, doing there in the background?
I don't know if you're aware, but the Gatebees as a family, we're not quite right.
No, we're a little off.
A little off.
Yes, we are aware about
You
the
are
game.
aware?
Yes. Well, helping when it is needed the most. Some local volunteers with the Salvation Army about to hit the road. Local law enforcement and community leaders are teaming up today looking for ways to try to stop young Somali men in our area from being recruited by terrorists. Now, the threat involves the al-Qaeda-linked terror group Al-Shabaab. Panel is going to be holding a seminar in Bloomington today to examine how local men are being recruited, what can be done to stop it, and the lessons learned following that shopping mall attack in Kenya back in September. Al-Shabaab is claiming responsibility for that 4-day siege that killed 67 people. The FBI is looking into some evidence that trained terrorists are doing their prep work right here in the U.S. Take a look at this FBI surveillance video of an admitted al-Qaeda terrorist who already killed American soldiers in Iraq. But this video was taken not overseas, but in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Authorities saying he is one of 2 al-Qaeda members who were able to come into the U.S. because of a flawed system of background checks that didn't pick up their terrorist pasts.
The system failed here, though.
The 2 men in Kentucky were recently arrested when one of the men's fingerprints was found on a bomb planted in Iraq back in 2005. The U.S. has a storage warehouse of tens of thousands of other unexploded bombs that were confiscated over the years. Experts are now examining those bombs, hoping to match more fingerprints. We are getting some new details this morning about that shooting that happened at the Los Angeles airport recently that killed a TSA agent. Coroner's report now says that Gerardo Hernandez died within 5 minutes of being shot. Investigators were looking into whether paramedics could have possibly saved him had they gotten to him faster. It took first responders 33 minutes to get him into an ambulance and on his way to the hospital. More details about his death are expected to be released in the next couple of days. Just how dependent are pilots on autopilot? That's a question now being raised by aviation experts. And today, the FAA is releasing a report that details pilots' dependencies on the use of automated systems. It's expected to say commercial airline pilots rely too much on them, and they are not, as a result, using their basic flying skills.